If all humans died, when would the last light go out? It's an unsettling question, but it's worth asking. We live in a world that is constantly illuminated, from glowing streetlights to skyscrapers lit through the night, from the headlights on highways to the quiet glow of your phone as you read this. But what if, in a single moment, every human being vanished? What would happen to all the lights we've built? When would the very last light finally fade away? This is the problem. Modern life runs on electricity. At any given moment, the world is consuming more than 20 trillion watts of power. It's what keeps our homes warm, our cities functioning, and our infrastructure alive. But almost all of that power requires someone, somewhere, to maintain it. Without humans, the systems we've built would begin to fail almost immediately. Let's start with the first hours. Electricity doesn't simply appear in your house. It's generated by power plants, transmitted through miles of cables, and stepped down by transformers before it ever reaches your phone charger. These systems are automated to some extent, but they still rely on human supervision. Without humans to monitor them, the first lights would go out within minutes. Coal and natural gas plants would be among the first to fail. These facilities burn fuel to heat water, create steam, and spin turbines. But without operators to feed them fuel and maintain the machinery, they would shut down almost immediately, leaving entire regions in the dark. Nuclear power plants would last a little longer, but not as long as you might think. These plants are designed with safety systems to prevent disasters if something goes wrong. Without human supervision, those safety systems would engage automatically. Within hours, the reactors would enter a shutdown process called scram, reducing the reaction to a minimum and eventually going cold. Some emergency diesel generators could keep the plant's lights on for a few days, but once the fuel runs out, even these would fail. By the end of the first week, most of the world would already be dark. But the story doesn't end there. Solar and wind power might keep producing electricity for a while. Solar panels could continue generating power during daylight hours for months, even years, depending on the system. But most solar installations are connected to the grid, and without humans to maintain that grid, the power they produce wouldn't have anywhere to go. Battery banks could store some energy, but they would eventually deplete, leaving the systems useless. Wind turbines would keep spinning for a few weeks or months, but they too need regular maintenance. Without lubrication and repair, their moving parts would seize up or break. And what about the lights that aren't connected to the grid at all? Battery-powered devices like flashlights and smartphones would run for a few hours or days at most. Once their batteries drained, they would be dark forever. Streetlights with independent solar panels might last longer. These systems can run for years if their batteries hold up. But batteries degrade over time, especially without maintenance. After a decade, almost all would fail. So, when would the very last light finally go out? This is where the agitation sets in. Some lights might last surprisingly long. In some parts of the world, there are lighthouses and beacons powered by long-life batteries, or even radioisotope thermoelectric generators, RTGs, the same type of power source used on spacecraft like the Voyager probes. These RTGs use the heat from radioactive decay to generate electricity, and they can last decades without any human intervention. For example, the RTGs on Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, launched in 1977, are still producing power more than 45 years later. But even these will eventually run out. RTGs decay over time, and their output drops by about 4% each year. By about 50 years after humanity disappears, most RTG-powered lights would have dimmed beyond visibility. Yet there might be one final contender for the last light on Earth. In the Caspian Sea region, there are gas flares, giant flames from oil fields that burn off excess natural gas. Some of these flares have been burning continuously for decades. If the pipelines feeding them are pressurized enough, they could keep burning for years after humans are gone. But eventually, without maintenance, the pressure would drop and the flames would flicker out. There's a real-world case study for this. In Turkmenistan, there's a massive natural gas crater called the Door to Hell. It has been burning continuously since 1971, when Soviet engineers set it alight to prevent the spread of dangerous gases. That's more than 50 years of fire, fueled by the natural gas reserves below. Could that flame still be burning 100 years from now if humans disappeared? Possibly, but even the door to hell will eventually exhaust its fuel and go dark. Now let's get to the solution. The answer is that there is no single moment when all lights would go out at once. It would be a slow, uneven fading. Within hours of humanity's disappearance, most of the world would already be in darkness. Within weeks, almost all grid-connected lights would fail. Within a year, the only lights left would be those powered by renewable energy sources or long-life batteries. Within decades, even those would be gone. And within a century, the Earth would be completely dark at night, lit only by the stars and the moon. But the question itself offers something important, because thinking about when the last light would go out reminds us of how fragile our systems really are. Everything we take for granted, the lights in our homes, the glow of our cities, depends on constant work. It depends on us showing up, maintaining it, and keeping it alive. It also reminds us that the Earth would go on without us. Nature would reclaim our cities, vines climbing over towers that once shone brightly at night. Animals would return to places they once avoided. The planet would heal in ways we can barely imagine. There is another lesson here too. The lights we build, like the lives we live, are temporary. They shine for a time, and then they fade. But that doesn't mean they don't matter, because while we're here, those lights illuminate the world. They make life safer, richer, and more connected. And that's the point. We don't know when the very last light would go out if humanity disappeared. But we do know that the lights we turn on now, the choices we make now, can outlast us. They can ripple outward, touching lives we'll never meet. They can inspire, protect, and guide others, just as the stars have guided sailors for thousands of years. So maybe the real question isn't, when would the last light go out? Maybe the real question is, what will you do with the light you have now? Because whether it's measured in hours, decades, or centuries, the time we have is finite. And the lights we build, the ones powered not by electricity, but by kindness, purpose, and courage, might be the ones that never really go out.